Hello and welcome to Stretford Paddock. This is Transfers Live. My name is Joe and that isn't Jay, it's a beseated Scotty. How are you?
I'm alright, mate. I've been better. I think I've had too much sun.
You've had too much sun, is that? You feeling alright?
Yeah, I'll be alright.
We're good?
Yeah.
Okay, great. How are you, other than having to sit down?
I'm good, man. I was writing a Man United preview this morning and I was positive for the first time in so many years.
I saw a clip from Scotty Motti, your other podcast. Yep. Make sure you check out Scotty Motti, where you were predicting United are going to be winning trophies this season, getting to cup finals, all sorts.
Third trophy on the bounce. We're going to get Europa League this year, I reckon.
Yeah, I love that. We've got loads to talk about today. We've got transfers, of course, with it being Transfers Live. What is going on with Jadon Sancho to PSG? Manuel Ugarte, can there be a swap deal as we see here? Can it be a sort of, you give us your guy for 60 million, we give you our guy for 60 million. Really, no money changes hands, but we can just sort of tap the keyboard, press enter, and tell PSR that we've all made a load of money. Can we do a little bit? Can we be a bit sneaky for once? We'll get into that. We'll also get into the latest on every other Manchester United transfer. I think we should just start with this. I think this is the big news tonight. So there's been sort of back and forth, different journalists, different publications, different things going on. Let's start with Jadon Sancho, and hopefully, it's been a while, but hopefully we've got some puns here. Eric, 10 hugs for Sancho.
I like that. That's a good one.
It's not bad actually, is it?
No. Did you come up with that one?
No, Ethan comes up with all of them. I don't see him until we're stood right here. I think 10 hugs is pretty good. I'll read the story and then we can get your thoughts and go through it. United are ready to give Jadon Sancho the chance to fight for his career at Old Trafford as PSG are unlikely to bid. Now this is the first angle on this. This is the first half of this story. Sancho was featured in 5 of United's 6 pre-season matches and came off the bench for last Saturday's FA Community Shield defeat by Manchester City, missing a penalty in the shootout. Ten Hag has even suggested he could play Sancho as a number 9, with Rasmus Højlund injured and the new £36.5 million signing Joshua Zirkzee still getting up to speed. Can we actually, before we get, just to get the full context here, can we get the next graphic straight away and then we'll speak about both angles here? So this is from Miguel Delaney from the Independent. So, Dependent Telegraph. There, you can look in there as much. Paris Saint-Germain. That is good.
That's very good.
That's like you could actually imagine that on the back of a newspaper. Couldn't you? That one. I like that. That's classic stuff. Jadon Sancho could join PSG on a loan with an obligation to buy after negotiations. So on the one hand, PSG are cooling, and on the other hand, the two clubs are attempting to unlock a deal that could also see midfielder Manuel Ugarte move in the opposite direction to Old Trafford. Talks have been ongoing for weeks, and it's understood that even Marcus Rashford has been raised due to the French club's long-standing interest. So there's sort of like two conflicting reports here. Give me your thoughts on the situation as a whole with Sancho. Do you see it likely, and do you think he should go to PSG?
I think PSG is a great move for Sancho, but I understand the reason why Ten Hag is probably playing him in the pre-season and has sort of come out with quotes that he may feature in the Premier League, because you want to put out the idea that there's a player there that you still value. You don't want to put him on the side. Like if they're wanting a decent amount of money for him as well, they're not going to say, all right, he's a waste of space. Give us 60 mil. It doesn't work like that. So I could definitely see it working out. And United need you guys. So I just think it's a matter of time. I could see the swap deal happening.
Yeah, I mean, I hope so. I mean, annoyingly, I do slightly sort of put Jason Burt over Miguel Delaney in terms of reliability, which is annoying because Jason Burt's not giving me the news I want, and Miguel Delaney is. Obviously, people get things wrong, things can change, but these stories sort of both came out today. Yeah. So one of them has to be wrong, because one's saying that this is looking likely, and if we can switch back to the other one very quickly, the deal is it could still happen after negotiations. Obviously, Jason Burt, like we said before, is a little bit cooler on things, saying that it's unlikely that it's going to happen, PSG unlikely to bid. Now, if you want to look at that a different way, unlikely to bid, does that mean a loan is still possible? If we're reading into the very fine details, does it mean that a bid in terms of a transfer is unlikely, but the loan that was mentioned in the other graphic could still happen? Maybe I'm clutching at straws here a little bit.
Does a loan work for Manchester United with PSR though, with the money that we need to sort of generate? Because obviously we'll get the wages off the books of PSG, but I think with them spending a lot of money on that Portuguese kid, have they got the money in the bank that United want for Sancho? I think if we sell Sancho to PSG, they may want to cut at like a lower price, and that's why the Ugarte deal is interesting.
Yeah, I don't know personally. I think getting his wages off the bill would be massive, and also, and no offence to him, because I don't think he's a bad guy. I don't think he's anything particularly sinister, but I can't imagine he's a particularly positive influence in the dressing room in terms of work rate, in terms of relationship with the manager. Like, whilst they may have sort of squash the beef. Him and Ten Hag aren't best mates, are they? You
No.
can't fall out with someone twice in 2 years to the point where you're literally being sent to another country to train and then be best mates just because you said sorry. Like, we've all had relationships in our life. I can tell you with 100% certainty, him and Ten Hag don't love each other. And him being in the changing rooms, on the training ground, not playing every week, because I imagine when everyone's fit, I don't see a place in the starting 11 for him. I think getting him over to PSG, hopefully he can prove himself. I think it'd be a good league for him, where it's a little bit slower, because he's not the quickest of players by any means, is he? But his technicality, his ability to find passes in between the lines with a bit more space around him, I think he could do very well there.
And I think his personality probably thrive in PSG as well. That sort of like, he seems to like that sort of lifestyle. But yeah, PSG would be a good fit for him. But what do you think about him actually staying? So if Sancho doesn't go, does he have to be played then at Manchester United given the wages? Does Ten Hag have to find a way of putting him on the team?
I don't think so. I think as a fan base, we've all come to accept Jadon Sancho not playing for United. Like 2 years ago, if it was Solskjaer doing this, you might go, well, you just signed him for 75 million. Ten Hag didn't sign him. Yeah. Ten Hag's never got on with him. And in Ten Hag's defence, we've never really seen a great player out of Jadon Sancho at Man United, have we? So do you think that's an issue?
I can't see it. I think how that will happen if there's an injury crisis. Obviously, Xerxes is trying to come up to speed, like it says there. Højlund is still injured. Sancho plays, just hypothetically, Sancho plays a false nine on Friday, scores. What happens then?
Play him again.
Yeah, do you know what I mean?
I'm not washing my hands with him, but we need to start seeing something from him.
He has to prove his worth, doesn't he?
Yeah, he's got no cash in the bank, as far as I'm concerned. No credit in the bank at Man United. He's been underwhelming on the pitch and disappointing off the pitch, really, from what we've seen and heard. Like, you know, the stuff in reports in training and X, Y, and Z. Like, I don't think I've always said this. I don't think he's a knob. I don't think he's horrible. I don't think he's toxic. I just think he's a bit too normal. Like, this is what I might be like. You always assume that you play for football, you play for a team, you give everything you've got. But really, most people, when you've got loads of money, when you're really comfortable, you sort of take a bit of an outward breath and go, maybe I'm not as desperate to prove myself as I once was. I'm on 350 grand a week. Maybe I will stay up and play FIFA with my mates tonight. Maybe sorry I'm late. Like, you know, like, I think people always assume that money and success makes people more driven, when just as often it makes people way less driven. You find yourself feeling comfortable, and what does he have to prove now? You don't have to prove anything to his bank account, and no one.
No, that's a huge problem, though. I mean, that's been the problem with United for a long time, especially under the Glazers, handing out these ridiculous contracts unjustly, because I imagine that you should be able to prove yourself and then get to the top dollars. But he has no motivation. You like you say, he's on a contract. He knows he doesn't have to go anywhere. He's still going to get paid. He could get loaned out somewhere else. All right, you know what? I went Dortmund last year. Let's see what Paris is like for a year. Do you know, like, I'm going to get paid either way. And if football isn't isn't the love of the fans, because that sometimes isn't the case. Fans would love to have that opportunity but don't have the ability. Whereas players, it's a job. You know, it is, and that comes across very much in Jadon Sancho.
Yeah, it does. I think he's a very talented player, but we're not seeing that, and he doesn't seem to be someone that has that like astonishing work ethic to prove everyone wrong. That kind of, obviously Cristiano Ronaldo jumps to mind. I know I think he was unprofessional at United by the end, but his work ethic can't be denied in terms of making himself the best he can be.
Ronaldo keeps himself to a standard, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Whereas I think Sancho, if he turns up regardless of what time.
Yeah, exactly. James Stewart says, did Scotty get a perm?
Scotty didn't get a perm. Scotty conditioned his hair and didn't put enough wax in.
It's all natural. It
really is.
I wish I had a little curl to my hair. My hair's sort of, painfully straight and boring, like me generally.
You've got lovely hair, Joe.
No, it's all right in it, but it's nice.
You've got the best hair on Stretford Paddock. Between you and Jay.
Steve's hairline is astonishing when you look up close.
Really?
You can barely fit a 20 pence between his hairline and his eyebrows.
He's always wearing a hat every time I see him.
Yeah, he does like a hat, bless him. Let's move on to the sort of Ugarte angle of this then. It says here, here we go. Ugarte, good feeling about this.
Oh,
it's not bad, is it?
It's not as good as my song about Ugarte.
What was that?
That's it. You gotta be strong. You gotta be strong. I can't remember the rest of it, but it's better than that one.
Yeah, even though we can't remember it, it's still better than this old crap. Sorry, Ethan. United remain extremely interested in PSG midfielder Manuel Ugarte. and are optimistic that a deal can still be struck. Now, obviously, straight at the bottom there, you can see Jason Burt. This is from the same article, isn't it, that we got the Sancho news from. So it would be a huge surprise if any deal involved Sancho, who is not currently part of PSG's plans. There you go, which, I mean, does sort of rule that out, doesn't it? But we'll say a priority for them would be to appear to be selling Ugarte. What a strange phrasing that is. Appear... Wait, listen to my breath here. Oh, he's all whistling then. Sorry, do you know when you get whistle breath? Like you're doing some talking at school at the front of the class. Hello, this is my presentation. Sorry. A priority for them would be to appear to be selling Ugarte. We'll get back to that phrasing. After PSG signed João Neves from Benfica this summer, the need to move Ugarte on has become more pressing. PSG do not want to accept a fee below the 60 million euros that they paid for Ugarte, but so far it is understood that United have indicated they are only prepared to bid less than that. Ugarte is keen on the move. Let's go back to this. A priority for them would be to appear to be selling... Oh no, would appear to be selling Ugarte. Right. I've read it wrong every single time. That's fine. That makes more sense. How can you appear to be selling to one? Wait, who's that? Yeah, in December he's walking around in training. Who's that boy there? Ugarte. He's meant to have been sold. Yeah, no, it would appear to be selling Ugarte. Okay, that makes more sense.
Yep.
Do you like him? Does it fill you with a bit more confidence? Because you sort of mentioned, can you see this happening without the switch?
Yes.
This suggests that United want this regardless of Sancho's movement.
Well, this has been going on for a while now. It's like 4 weeks ago when I first came out with that chant. But yeah, I think he's a brilliant player, and it's definitely a position that Manchester United should have really prioritised ahead of the number of defenders and the Xerxes signing. I think everybody would have said we need a defensive midfielder in that team. So this signing for me could be the difference between actually winning something, hitting top four, or not. I think if we don't get a central defensive midfielder, we are going to struggle if we over-rely on Casemiro next season. But he seems to want the move.
Yep.
PSG appear to want to sell Ugarte, but there's a dispute on how much they want to pay. Now, are Manchester United not bidding what PSG wants because they haven't got money in the bank? Are they playing hardball because they know when it gets towards the end of the transfer window that PSG are going to go like, okay, trousers down time, we need to sell him, and then they have to accept the bid. The problem if United are opting for that is how many games we've got that we could potentially drop points before he actually comes in. And I've always been more of a fan of getting as many players in. And we've done pretty well in the pre-season so far, getting the transfer window, getting players in before the season starts rather than sort of make him play catch-up. Because he joins at the end of August. He's not going to be up to speed till mid-September at least.
No, and you never know what position you're going to be in, because sometimes you wait till the end of the window and everyone involved is a bit desperate. The person you're trying to get them from is desperate. He's a bit more desperate. You get him for cheaper. You get him on slightly lower wages because, okay, yeah, we'll just do it to get over the line. Other times you end up with Casemiro and Antony, where you spent 70 million and 80 million respectively, and you've overpaid and overwaged for both of them.
Yeah.
This is where I think we need to not necessarily trust, but keep an eye on what Ineos are doing here. Because this is the sort of deal where De Ligt seems pretty straightforward, and I'm not knocking them because I think the fee was very good for De Ligt. Was it 38 million up from up to 45-ish? I think that's fantastic money. I think the same with Mazraoui. I think they're both very good deals, but the selling party seem to be more willing there. This is one where it's actually, we've got a bit of a fight on our hands here, because PSG want a fee that, to me, how you buy a player, he's not as good as you thought he'd be, you sell him a year later and you get what you bought him for.
Yeah.
How do, what was it with Lukaku? We bought him for 75. He was actually pretty good for 2 years, but not quite right. We sold him for 65. Di Maria, we bought him for 65. Well, 58, we sold him for 45. Like, you take a loss here. Like, for me, somewhere around 45, 50 million euros would make sense. I can't see how they get what they bought him for.
Isn't that the same situation with Jadon Sancho, though?
Yeah, like, but we aren't asking for 75 million, are we?
Yeah, that's very true. I mean, how much are we asking for Sancho?
Well, there was a report that we wanted 60 million euros, but I don't think that's true.
I think
40 million quid was the reports at the start of the summer. If that still holds, that's basically half price.
Yeah.
But he's been a lot poorer for United than Ugarte has for PSG, so I can see that. But I just think, how can you have had a failed transfer and get what you bought him for? That doesn't make sense to me. Let me get into some of the comments. Chris Griffith says, "Zooby dooby doo, where are you?" I know, it's just sad that one in there. So good. Someone came up with another song. You've got to fight for your right, Ugarte.
Ah, that's a good one. Yeah, I like that.
That's from Phobos Taco Man, which
nice.
He sounds like a musician already, doesn't he? So His lyrics are certainly there. If he's got a singing voice, you might have yourself a career fella. What else we got in here? Technically, our first 11 hasn't even improved with the transfers, just improving the squad. Adam Gibson, whilst I don't disagree with you, although I am beginning to disagree with you with the additions of De Ligt and Mazraoui, it isn't just about improving the starting 11. Improving the squad is the thing. Yeah. Like, I think that's why people like Victor Lindelof, Aaron Wan-Bissaka, Scott McTominay, potentially even Harry Maguire, Anthony, Sancho, getting people out is just as important as getting people in, because when someone's injured, this is the thing with Fred, and I like Fred, and I know you're a fan of Fred, aren't you? And players like Fred and Fellaini and people like that, where yes, they can do a job, and there are times when you miss them because they could have done that thing that you needed this week and no one did it. Like Wan-Bissaka, which I've said it in the news the other day, it's going to happen where someone gives Dalot an absolute skinning on that right-hand side. They'll do him 3, 4, 5 times, knock it through his legs, go around him. It might even be Doku. And we'll go, oh, if only Wan-Bissaka was here. But to improve overall going forward, you can't rely on players who are as limited as Wan-Bissaka is. And I think the same with Fred. We missed his energy at times loads last season. Yeah. But overall, a squad where Fred's playing 40 times a season is probably never going to win the Premier League. And if that is the goal, we have to move in that direction. That's my opinion anyway. And I think sometimes you sell players and you go, oh, we missed that particular aspect of that player. But overall, McTominay, Lindelof, Wan-Bissaka, unfortunately, I think the same with Sancho, like I said, Anthony, we need the floor of the squad to go up.
Yeah, the drop-off the problem last season was the injuries, but also the drop-off in talent from the first 11 to the subs or to who coming in, because it was huge, and we need that needs to be brought up. It should be level, really. If you look at Man City, you take any player out, you can bring a new one in. Very like for like.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Like Alvarez for Haaland, they're not the same player, and Alvarez isn't as good as Haaland, but he's a lot better than, who do we have playing up front? Rashford, who isn't a striker. Like last season we had Amrabat playing left back, Lindelof playing left back, Casemiro playing centre back. Like that can't be allowed to happen again. You need the second choice to, like you said, be almost as good as the first choice. Not like, oh, he's all right as a squad player. Yeah. Everyone has to be of a certain quality, because otherwise, 2 injuries, or even you want to rotate in the Europa League, you just lose. If your second choice is bad, it doesn't matter. It's Europa League. You're still going to lose to Sociedad or Sevilla or whatever. These are good teams.
Yeah, it's certainly the case. And like last season, even with that first 11 last season, we were struggling.
Exactly, absolutely. But Ugarte, it feels like this week we've seen a sort of wave of new kind of momentum with the Ugarte stuff. Not necessarily like massive leaps forward in terms of where the deal is, but like he's back in the story, back in the headlines again. I feel like we're kind of moving in the right direction with him.
It seemed a couple of weeks ago that, I think I tweeted that actually, because it sounded like the Ineos were walking away because PSG weren't going to budge on the money. So it's interesting that Ineos have come back in. Are they playing a game saying they're looking over the continent? We're not really linked with anybody else in that position. That's the worry. If I was Ineos, you'd be sort of saying, okay, I'm going to put a bid in for, I don't know what players out there in that position that I'd want to sign.
Well, let's say Amrabat or whatever.
Amrabat, I'd say, all right, well, if you're doing that, we'll pay for Amrabat, and then that might get, the bums up PSG bankers a bit squeaky.
Yeah, and I think United, it would be nice to have a bit of a lock of horns with whoever their technical director and transfer experts are at PSG, and actually come out with a deal where everyone's happy. Maybe we pay 50 million euros going up to 60, or 45 going up to 60. Yeah. They can say they've got 60 million. We can say, actually 45 million euros, that's only 38 million quid. Everyone can be happy with that. I just think that 60 million euro fee, there has to be some wiggle room on that, surely.
And the thing is, comparatively to, say, like the Ed Woodward or Murtaugh years, United would have paid that. United have gone, we'll give you 60 mil and add-ons. Yeah. It would have been done, but there's a lot more strategy and a plan. Ineos seems to have a blueprint this season, and it might not be to build towards the forthcoming season, but for the future, financially and the structure as to what they want to sign and stuff. And that's very optimistic to see.
Yeah, and I think this is a prediction of mine. I don't think we'll see, or I'd be very surprised if we saw any 70, 80, 90, 100, 110 million pound signings from Ineos in the next few years. I think we're going to be going for that Man City model where it's 50 million, 60 million, 55, 65, 50, 40. Like City's whole squad, they've got like 20 players who cost 50 million quid. And that's that levelling up the whole squad. United's, it's 90, free transfer, loan, 75, 60, loan, 90. Like it's a mess.
Yeah.
Like I think we're going to be seeing this. 60 million euros is like a bit of a soft cap almost. And you'll be getting Xerxes, you'll be getting Delicts, Mazraouis, Ugartes. I think the era of the Pogbas, the Antonys, the Maguires, certainly short term, unless someone, shocking becomes available, like a Vinicius Junior or something, I really think United we're going to be seeing a lot more 60 million euros and a lot less 80, 90, 100s.
Which pains me to say, but City are like the most successful club over the last few years.
Yeah.
And they've never actually gone out. Let's take away the Haaland buy.
And Grealish
for the big money. The players that they've signed have had a name, but they've not been top of their game, and Pep has sort of built them up, their presence, and I think that's going to be what's happening at United. Players like Xerxes, I don't think we would have looked at that signing, but then that's the motivation that's lacking in a player like Sancho. Yeah. He comes, he knows that the world's in front of him now. He can earn more money. He can become a better player at United. There's your motivation. Otherwise, Sancho, there's all the money you want. Yeah. Now, why are you not playing football?
And he was 20. What was he? 21 when we signed Sancho.
Yeah.
You're giving him 300 grand a week, or what? I don't know.
Can you imagine if you got 300 grand? I'd be in the Priory within a year.
Well, I was thinking, I don't know. I haven't earned 300 grand in my working life, and I'm 30. I don't think I've earned near 300 grand, let alone a week. A week? What? A week! Anyway, let's move on. We've got a few chats in here. Mike Fergus says there's 2 weeks left of the window. Be patient. I think he's talking to everyone there. And I think that's a nice motto to have. Let's be patient. We've already got, I think, 4 good signings so far for United. And if we can get 1 or 2 more, and again, when you sign in at 40, 50, 60 million, you can turn a squad around in 2 windows. Because you can buy 5 or 6 players. When it's 80s and 70s and 90s, 2 of them and you're done, really, aren't you? Let's go on to our next story then. You mentioned, actually, let's skip ahead and we'll come back to that top one there. You mentioned about midfield options. If Ugarte isn't there, maybe to put a bit of pressure on PSG, Adrien Rabiot is a potential there. Like a Rabiot in the floodlights. That is very nice. I really like that. Because it's a twist on Rabbit in the headlights. You've got floodlights because it's football. Rabbit, nice. That's really good. Yeah. No. I'm actually, take a picture of that. I'm happy with you there. Well done, everyone.
Well done.
Rabiot in the floodlight. Ross Murphy, simple. Love that. Well done, Ross. Who came up with that? That's Ethan. Well done, producer Ethan. Adrien Rabiot would be interested in joining United this summer, but is prepared to let the window run down. This is from Ben Jacobs, who says the Frenchman is keen to remain in Europe and is eyeing a club who can offer him regular European football. Rabiot would be interested in a move to United, who will play in the Europa League next season, and is waiting to see whether the Red Devils will act on their historic interest in his services. Rabiot currently has significant interest from Galatasaray, while Atletico Madrid could emerge as an option if their pursuit of Chelsea's Conor Gallagher collapses. That's been a weird one, the Gallagher thing.
Yeah.
Rabiot in the floodlights. If you're going to be, let's say I think he's your sort of Scott McTominay replacement, personally. Maybe a level up on him, and then maybe Ugarte could be the Casemiro replacement. Yeah. Either way, do you like Rabiot? Do you think he works at Man United? I
think he's a good player, and if McTominay goes, I think it would be very similar, like for like, but maybe a couple of rungs up on that ladder in terms of his talent. Isn't there an issue? Was it Rabiot that had it? Was it his wife or is his mum?
His mother.
His mum's. Can you imagine? I mean, I love my mum, but
yeah, I would.
I don't work with family.
Do you know what? You don't work with family, and I'm just as a general life rule here. I don't like mates rates either. I think it's a bad thing because if you do let's just say, let's say your brother's a mechanic, right, and he's going to go. You normally to fix that carburetor there, that would cost you 80 quid. I'll do it for 40 quid. I'll see if I can fit you in Thursday. Oh, sorry mate, I can't fit you in Thursday. Can you do it? Yeah. Because people are doing you a favour, they think they don't have to be as professional either. So you're paying 40 quid, but next thing you know, it's 3 weeks and you've got fucking drive to Scotland. The wedding's this weekend. I just don't like it. I think pay someone their full fee, and if they do it, great. And if not, I don't like it. I hate it. So yeah, this would make me feel sick. Having my mum as my age, I feel so guilty. Yeah. I'd just give her loads of money anyway if I was famous. God, sorry, it's really awoken some sort of fear in me.
There's trauma there.
I just don't like mates rates at all. I'm paying you full price because that way I can scrutinise you like anyone else would.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I'm doing it for 40 quid, mate. What are you pressuring me for? I'm sorry. Anyway, sorry, don't happen there. Rabiot is a grafter, if anything. He's not going to rest on his laurels, says Wayne Davies. I like Rabiot, and I think he's a good player, and I think he's someone that brings a little bit different to a Scott McTominay, for instance. I think he's won a lot. He's been involved at big clubs. He's got high standards. He's been at PSG. I think he was in the World Cup winning squad, wasn't he? He's been at Juventus for a long time now. He's a very good player, and I think if you want to move on from a Scott McTominay, Casemiro midfield, Rabiot and Ugarte, to me, feels like a little bit of an upgrade.
Yeah, it certainly does. He's got a lot more in his locker as well. We were talking before about Wan-Bissaka maybe having one sort of speciality in tackling as a defender. McTominay's great offering goals on a rare occasion coming off from the subs bench. He does very little else except for look busy. He runs around a lot, but doesn't really do a lot in that. But Rabiot, he's got a sweet pass in him. His numbers last year for Juventus as well. I think he's one of the best key performers last year for Juve. So like I said, he's got that pedigree of playing at the best clubs. Oh, some of them. It'd be nice to see him at United. Money though, what we're talking money?
Free transfer.
Free transfer, take it.
Yeah.
Well, there we go.
They're sorted, isn't it? Bit of mixed comments. Rabiot isn't any good, lads. You're wrong. That's Daniel Berry. I will admit, I don't watch Juventus every week, but over the years I've seen Rabiot play many times, and I personally like him. I don't think he's a world-class player, but I think he's a good player, and I think he can do a bit more of everything better than Scott McTominay can.
That's what people need to say. Like, it's not that you're saying he's an elite player. You're saying that he's an improvement on the player that you hope to replace.
Yes,
that's
exactly.
a good thing.
Darren Cox says Rabiot would give a physical presence in midfield. Yeah, exactly. Left back in the changing room, says Chris Griffiths. Love that. Wayne Davies says Rabiot is high energy. You can't argue it. Always puts a shift in. Not world class, but very good. Yeah, I completely agree. Tyler Wood says no Rabiot. No, he's a step back. A step back compared to who? McTominay, are you thinking, or just generally? The other thing to remember is you get him in, free transfer, you sell Scott McTominay, 30 million profit. So you can almost bring him in without affecting PSR. That 30 million could then go to Ugarte, and you've replaced the guy you lost and got someone else in. I think the fact that he's free, if he wanted 30 million, we can talk about that. But if it's a free transfer and you can keep his wages down a little bit, I think that PSR-wise, it's a fantastic move.
It's a no-brainer. It's a no-brainer.
Yeah, I think
really,
it is a bit of a no-brainer, to be honest. A step back to the old Woodward United, says Daniel Berry. I don't agree with that.
How many free transfers did Woodward bring in?
Falcao, was he a free transfer?
Yeah, but I mean, if you look at the wages, it was high.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, but even then, Falcao is hardly the worst. He didn't play very well, but in terms of financial decisions, it was hardly the worst we ever made, was it? Let's move on up the pitch then. Ivan Toney, RT says Rabiot is 29, so very short term as well. Hopefully you get 2 or 3 years out of him by then. Kobbie Mainoo's going to be the best player in the world anyway, isn't he? Pants down, Brent forward. What's that mean, Nan? As in bend forward. So they pulled our pants down and they're asking us to Brent forward because we've had our pants down here. Yeah. I'm not so sure about that one.
He's such a high bar previously as well, Ethan. And
look at you,
straight away!
You had him under the bus. He said that was Adam, that one. And now Adam's trying to take claim for Rabiot in the floodlights as well. Unbelievable. The way they turn on each other, it's horrible. If those two were on a desert island, they'd both be dead before the day was through. They wouldn't even be certain it was a desert island yet. They wouldn't have left the beach and they'd have killed each other.
They're getting out of departure lounge.
400 yards into the island, there's a fucking JD Sports and a spa and loads of people living there and they'd both be dead. Embarrassing. Brentford are still holding out for at least £60 million for Ivan Toney this window. Chelsea and Manchester United may test Brentford's stance with offers of loans with obligations to buy late in the window. There is an unwillingness from United to go big on a forward of that age, 28 years old, under the new recruitment structure, who have also been hampered by profit and sustainability limits. But a cost-effective deal for Toney could yet prove attractive. United need a forward, but the current priority is in midfield. And that's, again, Miguel Delaney from The Independent there.
I think Toney's
Jay's a big fan.
Yeah, Toney's a good player. His numbers weren't great last season when he came back. But I do think he's a good striker. I don't see this happening if United have to buy him. If it's going to be 60 mil plus, I just don't see it happening. There seems to have we spoke about before, set the stall out in terms of what their ethos is about buying players. They're not going to spend 60 million on 28.
I think, according to the comments as well, and I think this is right, his contract runs out in 2025, so he's only got a year left. Why would you spend 60 million quid on him? I mean, is that right? Has he got 1 year left? Who in their right mind would spend 60 million quid on him?
We'll just wait till January.
Yeah, that's what I would completely agree. And also, Brentford need. I'm not saying they're desperate for money. I don't actually know their sort of PSR kind of rankings. I've not heard of them being in particular trouble. But what I can say with certainty, a club of Brentford size could do with 40 million quid.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
And they just spent money on the Liverpool player. I think they just spent it.
Yes. Who is it now? They just bought.
Carvalho.
Yes. Yeah. William Carvalho. Is it? We're not William Carvalho. What's his first name? Midfielder anyway. Carvalho. For Liverpool. He's always one of those players, Carvalho, who looks a lot younger than he is. He's got a real baby face, hasn't he? What's his name? Go on. Fabio Carvalho. Yeah, there you go. So yeah, 27.5 million quid. Midfielder. Is he right hand side? Yeah, winger. 27.5 million. There you go. So they've just spent money on him. They could probably do with a bit back. I just think 60 million just doesn't make any sense. Doesn't make sense for United. Doesn't make sense with the Højlund situation, and it's too much money for someone with 1 year left. Who is good, but it's not like he's had 7 good years in the Premier League.
No.
He's had 1 decent year, 1 very good year, and 1 poor year.
It sort of makes you worry as well when United link with him, because I think about before he got the ban, it seemed odds on that he was going to Arsenal. Now that doesn't seem to be happening. Not too many other clubs seem to be hovering around to sign Ivan Toney. No. Therefore, Brentford's options to sell him seem quite diminished. If I was Ivan Toney, I'd hang on till January, get a cheaper move, or even till next year. And United should do that, given what happened with Mason Mount. And also, you know what I mean? Last, you could have got him for now this year.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he'll get a juicy signing on fee if he waits until the summer as well. So, if I'm him, I'd want the move now, just to have more years at the top. But if Brentford are playing hardball, then I don't think United necessarily need or should spend 60 million on Ivan Toney. Spaceman says he's 29, apparently, according to Spaceman. How old's Ivan Toney? Can we get it Wikipedia'd? I mean, it says 28 in there, but Spaceman says 29. So, are we having an argument with it? When's his birthday? Maybe he turns 29 on the 15th of August. It's my mum's birthday today, by the way. Happy birthday,
Mrs. Smith.
He's 28 and he's not 29 till March. So,
Pisces.
Sure about that. Anyway, let's move on to our next story, and this is just good news as far as I'm concerned. Bruno gonna leave. Thoughts? Not great. Not ideal, is it? But what is great is that Bruno Fernandes has signed a contract extension to 2027. I'll get into the quotes in a second. Just generally, your thoughts. Man United captain, 2-year extension, I believe, on his deal. Thoughts?
Thoughts, I think it's a necessity that he stays. He was the linchpin of the team last season, as he has been throughout his time at Manchester United. I think if there's one player at Old Trafford who deserves the stability and support and to be part of this new regime, this phoenix from the ashes that Manchester United we hope to become under Ineos, is Bruno Fernandes. He's been there through all the shit and driftwood at Old Trafford, and he's carried that team a hell of a lot. I'm looking forward to next season because I'm hoping that Bruno Fernandes gets the ability to not have the pressure on his shoulders, because sometimes that can be to his detriment, that he wants to do everything because he doesn't feel like the players around him are. But once he's like if you're watching for Portugal, he feels a little bit more relaxed and he's enjoying it. There doesn't seem to be as much stress in him. If we're getting decent players around him, I think he's going to be phenomenal to watch. And that goal that wasn't allowed against Man City in the Community Shield.
Yeah, and do you know what I'm looking forward to as well? And obviously I think basically him not being the only creator in the squad. Yeah. Because there were times last season when Garnacho, who we talked about this the other day, he's a fantastic player, isn't a creator for others really. He likes driving into the box and having shots. Rashford is the same. He likes driving into the box, running with the ball at his feet and taking shots. Højlund, the same. Kobbie Mainoo is a very good player, but he isn't someone who's going to set you up for a goal necessarily. Bruno Fernandes has been the only person in the attacking players who can create. So he's had to do all of it. Well, you put Xerxes in there. He likes creating from this. He's got a very good passer of the ball. He's got a good touch. He'll lay it off for Bruno. You put Ahmad in there. He loves 1-2s around the box, creating space for others, pulling it back to Bruno, smacking it from 18 yards out. I think we'll see more goals out of Bruno with the inclusion of Ahmad, as Ten Hag seems to like him, and Xerxes to the squad. I think we can rotate and move things around. And even Mason Mount playing more games this season, that will help Bruno Fernandes. Because you think, last season, he's the only guy whose first instinct is to find someone else.
Yeah.
Like, we've actually added, if you include Mount as being added because he barely played, Xerxes and Ahmad to the squad, I think we've added players in there who will help get more goals and more out of Bruno Fernandes as well.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, and his position in the team shouldn't be overlooked. Last year and maybe the years before, it became a saying that if Bruno Fernandes is having a bad game, Manchester United are having a bad game. And we can't have that if we have the ambitions to reach top 4 and beyond.
Yeah.
We need to have other players that are accountable for creating goals as well as scoring them.
Yeah, completely agree with that. Dead Baby, who's been a member for 20 months, says this is Bruno committing to fighting to make United great again. He could go anywhere in Europe and be guaranteed trophies. Except obviously Bayern Munich with Harry Kane, but otherwise, yes. We've got some quotes here from him as well, which I love this. Everybody knows the passion I have for Manchester United. I can see how positive the future is going to be, and I'm relishing leading this team forward. I understand the responsibility and significance of wearing the shirt and the levels of dedication and desire required to represent this incredible club. He said, from my discussions with the football leadership and manager, it's clear and how determined everyone is to fight for major trophies in the years ahead. Is that the only graphic we've got on this? Because there was also another quote from him as well where he said, basically, the fact that I'm signing this contract shows that not only how good it's been already or how much I've liked being here, but that I believe the best years are still to come.
Yeah.
That Manchester United will deliver more than we have in the last few years by dedicating this portion of his career. Was he 28, 29 now? And I think he'll play well into his 30s just because of his body shape.
He's not a pacey player, is he? He doesn't rely on that.
And he's a small, skinny player who tend to play for longer than your stocky, bigger players. But he's basically committing his final top-level years to Manchester United. And I hope, for his sake, the rest of the squad can get somewhere near his level. Because if they do, we will be challenging for those big honours. And I think he deserves that for bringing one of the few sort of flickers of consistent joy over the last sort of 5 years.
Yep.
He's been one of the main shining lights alongside, a few others, including sort of Marcus Rashford. There's also a quote from Dan Ashworth on the situation, obviously United's technical director, or sporting director, should I say. He said, Bruno's performed at such a high level with remarkable consistency since he arrived at Manchester United. He's a brilliant leader, driving the daily standards and inspiring the players and staff to perform at their highest levels every day. Bruno's dedication to the club epitomises what it takes to be a United player. He remains pivotal to everything we want to achieve here, and we look forward to working together to deliver the success that this club demands. And I think it's brilliant to see him locking down his career at Manchester United for a few more years. Sort of inversely to that, or conversely to that, I never know what the difference is. Let's move on to our next story then. Christian loves a cross. I don't mind it, but how is crosses related to the story? Yeah, I know, but that's not actually to do with the story, is it? He can do some crossing for his next club, apparently.
Right.
So he's got the Christian loves a cross pun, which I do get it, but there's nothing to do with him whipping the ball in this story, is there? Maybe at his next club, he's saying.
Where's he moving to?
Well, we'll find out. Manchester United expecting formal bids for Christian Eriksen. A number of clubs have explored conditions of a deal. Eriksen has 1 year left on his contract. Midfield recruitment is a priority. Budget and space in the squad are key. Ugarte, Berger and Amrabat among live options. That's from Dharmesh Sheth from Sky Sports. So he doesn't mention the club specifically, but there is interest there. Would you let Christian Eriksen leave if, I don't even know what the bid would have to be, a couple of million maybe?
Yeah, from the interviews that I've read about Eriksen in pre-season, he seems quite intent on staying at Manchester United. He seems like he's on a good deal. He said, I'm a Manchester United player and I will be a Manchester United player this year. There or thereabouts, he said something like that. So I don't think he's in any rush to move. I think it's more for Manchester United to try and move him on. Yeah. So I think it would have to be somewhere that he would actually, enjoy to travel to play for. Personally, I think Eriksen's a great player, but I think we got him about 4 years too late. I thought when he left Spurs to go to Inter, I thought to join Jose United, I thought we should have signed him then. He's done well, he's got a great pass, but similar with Casemiro, we can't have too many sort of players that seem like they're running through treacle in centre midfield. He would be a bit part player at best.
Yeah, I agree. I think when he was at Spurs, when he first got, because he came from Ajax, didn't he? And my thoughts on him and what I'd seen from him, I thought, I don't actually think because he was a sort of wonder kid kind of player. And I thought, I don't think he's going to be I don't think he's that good. And then he went to Tottenham and I thought he was brilliant. He's probably the closest thing to Bruno Fernandes that I've seen that isn't Bruno Fernandes, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Just the constant energy in that number 10 position, loads of goals, loads of assists, can hit it from everywhere. He's obviously dropped back later on in his career with changes to sort of form and fitness and obviously health issues that he's had. I think he's a very good player, and his technique, I think, what we saw from him that first season, I think that went a long way to expose what we'd seen out of Fred and McTominay a little bit. When you got someone who actually, this is what passing looks like. Yeah. It was quite stark, I thought, those first 10 games when he looked brilliant. And then obviously you realise the physical kind of ramifications of his career and playing style and health issues. He can't quite be the player we need him to be. But I think if nothing else, he did a great job of going, actually, we need someone who can do this, every single week, every single game. But I think he's a good player. If he was to leave, it makes sense, doesn't it? He's 2 years into a 3-year deal that probably was a year too long when we signed it. He's on 8 million a year and valued at about 6 million. I guess they're talking about Eriksen there. I don't think you're getting 6 million for him, personally.
No.
He was 32 years old.
1 year left in his contract, and I can't see that.
No, personally, I can't either. But, if he does go, then I think he's been a good player for Manchester United. And, he's a likeable guy, isn't he, as well? He's someone that seems like, I wouldn't assume he's any sort of negativity around the dressing room. He seems like a good bloke.
He's a player, it's similar to sort of Wan-Bissaka in that sense. He's a player who'd leave Manchester United and there would be no ill feeling towards him.
Not at all. Absolutely. Right, that's everything.
Oh, wow.
Thank you very much, Scotty. I've really enjoyed that.
I managed to stay up.
Time's flown. You've stayed up. You've stayed alive. Everything's good. 41 minutes there. That's flown by, hasn't it?
Fast, man, isn't it? Yeah. Well done on the puns as well, Ethan. Oh, cheers, man.
Cheers. Good to chat. Thank you, Ethan, as well. Well done on the puns. Thank you, everyone at home, for joining us. We'll be back tomorrow, of course, with all the build-up to the game. We've also got Off the Bar. We're going to be doing our Premier League table predictions as well. Where United are going to finish. Is Adam McCullough going to say 21 is coming again? We will find out tomorrow. Thank you for joining us. Hit subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Thanks again, Scotty. Make sure you check out the Scotty and Motty podcast if you want to see more of him and Jay Motty. We haven't been on the channel in ages now, so you probably do want to see more of him. We'll see you in a bit.